Well, welcome back, everyone. Our next session is creating a pathway for accessible course design. If you're just joining us, please note that remote attendees can put their questions in the Q&A panel, not the chat panel, because we don't have anyone moderating that. For attendees here in the room, please hold your questions until the end of the session. We'll try to get in as many as possible, and if we don't get to them, some presenters will be here or online from 5 to 5:30, or we'll try to answer questions individually in the next few days. This session will introduce you to a course that was created for faculty and staff who support and create digital learning environments at ASU. You'll learn about the pathway to credentials in accessible course design at ASU and have a conversation on the sticky points of designing for the margins of our student body. To lead us in this discovery, please welcome three of the creators of the accessibility pathway and some of ASU's most creative and tireless accessibility advocates. Mary Loader, who is a manager of professional development and training at ASU's Ed+, Dr. Alejandra Dash, a senior instructional designer at ASU Learning Enterprise, and Mackenzie Ramirez, an instructional designer at ASU's College of Health Solutions. Welcome to all of you.
Hello. I think we'll have to say next slide because there's nothing really to say other than we created a course, and Adaro pretty much set that up for us, so thank you, Adaro. So I'm Mary Loader. We've already been introduced, so thank you again, Adaro. I'm joined by two of the colleagues who did a lot of work in this course. I was one among many, and I felt like I just scheduled meetings and created a community where we could talk about what we knew about and what we didn't know about and explore and better support the faculty and staff that make courses at ASU. Alejandra Dash, Mackenzie Ramirez. They did a ton of work in this course, but so did many others. And if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide, I'd like to highlight those who worked very specifically on this course. This was actually birthed out of the Universal Design, Access, and Technology Work Group. Historically, we try to create a deliverable on Global Accessibility Awareness Day, and this was our second course in a series of courses that we intended and will intend to continue to make. The first was on awareness, and Krista did a lot of work on that one. And then the second was the actual designing of courses around digital access for online courses specifically. This was birthed out of multiple spaces of ASU as well, which is kind of unique. The collaboration took place in the learning enterprise, the academic enterprise, enterprise technology, education and student outreach services, specifically student accessibility and inclusive learning services, better known as SAILS to many. And also the College of Health Solutions had three designers that were critical to this as well. So many voices went into this, and it was truly a passion project that really represented a culture at ASU that we hope to see grow, which is around learning, sharing, inclusivity, understanding where we're wrong, and being okay to receive feedback. So there were so many different things that happened within this work group that I'm so proud of. One of them is the deliverable of making the course, and we've had over 250 people already register from our Global Accessibility Awareness Day project, and we hope to have many more through the support of the Provost's office and through your attendance today. Next slide, please. So here's what we're gonna cover. We're gonna cover accessible course design. Generally, what is it? What were our modules? How to create accessible Canvas courses. Motivating faculty and staff to do so, because as we've heard from Jeffrey, thank you very much, Dr. Ricker, sometimes the hurdle is around wanting to do the work. But also tips and tricks and the iterative design process of the course itself. So I'm gonna turn this over to Alejandra, and if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide.
Thank you, Mary. Hi, I'm Alejandra. It's nice to see everybody here. So let's talk about accessible course design. Before I was an instructional designer, I was a professor for many years, teaching anthropology and biology courses. So, Dr. Ricker, I taught a lot of the same courses you probably taught, and at a number of community colleges. So my first question is to the audience, and I hope to hear from people in the audience and people on Zoom. In one word, What do you think is accessible course design? This isn't rhetorical, by the way. Multiple formats. No, just scream it out, because I'll repeat what you say. Full participation. Flexible. Universal. Justice required. Sensory aware, and there's probably a few in the chat, which I cannot see. We've got belonging, universal, inclusive, responsive, equality, considerate. Wow, this is wonderful. This is really wonderful. So this course is born from all of these things, all of those concepts that you have just expressed here today. It is born, oh goodness, easier to hold this thing. Born from the desire to be accessible, in addition to our requirement legally to adhere to the ADA. The course was made in response to many asking for training, asking for guidance. We created this course as a tool to help increase everybody's knowledge, not just professors, but also instructional designers, also user experience designers, anybody who is designing anything related to learning, this is for you. We wanted to grow our group of accessibility experts to not just our little core group. Everybody can be an accessibility expert. You don't have to know everything though. It's a little overwhelming to know everything, just for any subject for that matter. But you can learn something and really get good at it. Just a few minutes ago, Mary was telling me, yeah, the reason why you get to do the transcript is because you're good at it. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'm doing the transcripts today. So, but that's what I'm talking about. You can just pick something and be good at that particular piece and contribute that to the accessible course design. And it's a team approach. No one person's responsible for everything. We have to work together at the university. Next slide, please. So, we have 5 modules in this course. And in this course, it leads you through lessons to teach you how to be all of these things. You don't have to be perfect at it, but at least you can get familiar, right? And they're all steeped in learning objectives because, well, many of us like our learning objectives and we want to make sure everything's aligned appropriately. So we have these 5 modules, the Remediator Rockstar. And that's one of our first modules, and it teaches you how to use remediation tools. The Media Manager module, it talks about how you can become able to include captions and transcripts and the reasoning for it. The Image Influencer, the ability to create and add alt text and the reasoning for it as well. A Content Creator module, ability to write accessible content and for web pages and convert documents into accessible PDFs, which, by the way, is not an easy feat. So if you need help, please definitely reach out to somebody who does know how to do it. You might need support with it. And then Content Curator, able to create and curate accessible content and the reasoning for it. So notice that we don't just have you learning the skills, but we also explain why these skills are important and where they can be used. What is the context? We have you doing actual, what's the word I'm looking for? Exercises that help you practice doing these things. Next slide, please. So, as you know, we have student accessibility and inclusive learning services under the Educational Outreach and Student Services umbrella to ensure that our students feel included, and especially when they need services related to their self-selected learning needs, based on a disability and the diversity of neurotypes that exist within our ecosystem. That's a lot. And we also heard this morning that it's not even perfectly accessible either. We have a way to go there. And so the least we could do as a university is get there by designing our courses in an accessible way, using universal design for learning. So Canvas definitely supports, Canvas is our learning management system for those of you who aren't aware, or it's one of our learning management systems. It's not the only one. There's a few that we use at the university, but that's the main one. It supports many of these efforts through the Canvas Accessibility Checker. And where that does not provide, so like captions or training on what a meaningful alt text could be or how to write a descriptive link, our course helps with that process and considerations through self-directed learning. Next slide. All right, so we're gonna play a video. Oh, we're gonna skip the video?
But if you would like to see the video, please join LX in the hall. I'll have the video available for you to watch later.
Thank you, thank you. That helps me, because I was like, oh goodness, we've got a video. I forgot about this video. So in the course, we make the best effort to model the change that we want to see by being mindful of the language that we want to use. We use content from all parts of the university to teach you how to use these tools, like the Canvas Accessibility Checker or Ally, for example. And we also want to be as mindful as we can with the language that we're using, because we want to think about whether or not we're, saying it in the appropriate way, saying it in an inclusive way, saying it in the medical way. There's different ways that we approach how we describe what we're doing, and we want to make sure that we are as inclusive as possible. Next slide. So using the Canvas Accessibility Checker is pretty easy. It's, as you can see, well, let's see here. I need the other microphone. Okay, so if you're using Canvas, there is an icon that sits on the lower left of the WYSIWYG editor or the text editor that you might be using. And so, the icon looks like it has a circle with an image of a human being inside of it. And so what you would do is you would click on it to understand what things need to be fixed. And it takes you through that process of what needs to be fixed. It's very simple. And it's one of the easiest things you could possibly do. If you don't have Ally in your course, at least try that much. It was my first introduction to how to build the courses accessibly when I was first teaching in Canvas, and it really made a big difference. It teaches you things like, how do you write alt text? And do you need these headers in this table? Well, yes, you do. It really walks you through it, and it's very gentle and very easy. Next. So, why are we doing this? What's the impetus for us? Well, it's because it's the right thing to do, right? And the right thing to do is to pass the mic off to Mackenzie. So, anyway, as I was saying, it is the right thing to do, and it is the law, and it is your turn. And I thought I was still going, but not my turn anymore. Bye. Thank you.
We love the passion, right? So the motivation to do this, why should faculty and staff take this course, learn how to make accessible courses? One, it's the right thing to do, right? We want our content to be accessible to all learners, but also we receive federal funding, which means there's certain requirements that we have to meet. So it's good to learn, right? It's our professional responsibility, essentially. Next slide. So in order to meet the needs of all learners, all the diverse learners that we have at ASU, we challenged ourselves to think about who traditionally is left out of course design. So to do this, we designed from the margins, which means we considered our most marginalized students first in our design and how we can best suit their needs. And we also used trickle-up social justice to meet the needs of all of our learners. Next slide, please. We created student profiles of sample ASU students, some students that you may have in your courses, different subjects that they might study, and different needs that they all have. You can scan the QR code to see the student profiles for yourself in more detail, and interact with the interactive we've created to understand who we had in mind when we were designing our courses. Next slide, please. We are not going to watch this video today, but we did include a message from the ASU president, Michael Crow, and this also exists in our course. So if you enroll in the Accessible Course Creator course, you can watch it there as well. Next slide, please. To touch back on what Alejandra had mentioned, we wanted to pick the most important elements that we thought mattered in teaching faculty and staff and how to create an accessible course. So there was thought that went into each of the modules that we created, different skills that we wanted you to walk away with in each of our modules in order to create a course that is more accessible. Next slide, please. We used iterative design in the process of creating this course to improve the accessibility and community within our course. So we had initially released the course and we've taken feedback from others, and I'm actually going to have you go to the next slide. Thanks. We used the feedback that we were given from others in order to improve the course and make changes. So some of these changes included adding student profiles to the assessment. We had these student profiles initially, but we wanted them to be more visible throughout the course, so you felt like, you know, the students were actually part of the course, and you were making these changes to suit your student needs. We also reduced the amount of text that was on our pages. We reorganized the content so that the information was informative but not repetitive. And we're continuing to make these changes based on feedback that we get within the course. So we have an image of the Google form that we have attached at the end of the course. We review this feedback regularly and we go back and make changes as needed. Next slide, please. And we have a QR code here as well that takes you to our accessible course creator pathway. You can go ahead and scan this to learn more about the pathway and the different badges you can earn within our course. Next slide, please. And we also have a QR code of how to enroll and re-engage in the course. We've added new optional discussion questions to deepen the conversations and learn more. So thank you so much for joining us today. Closing words? Nope. All right. We are going to go ahead and open up for questions then.
And it looks like in the chat, someone was asking, how do we get access? That QR code on screen will get you access. And then let me copy and paste the link as well for those who are not QR code ready at this time. And I'll put that in the chat also. But any other questions in the room?
Yes. What percentage would you say of the ASU faculty and professors have taken this course?
Percentage, it's not going to be a good percentage. And it's not because people don't want to, it's because people don't know about it. So we had a very small communication effort because UDAT, Universal Access Design, I'm saying it wrong, UDAT, we have a grassroots effort, right? And so we don't have a large vocal platform to tell everybody about what's happening. We use Slack, we used our listserv, we used word of mouth. The Provost's office is going to be publishing this in, I think, one of their upcoming newsletters to help us with that. So as soon as people know about it, I'm sure that'll go up. But we do have a large amount of those who did enroll that did complete, which is a good sign. Many of them were instructional designers. I'll say that. But that's actually really good because our faculty are working with our instructional designers. That's their role, to help inform and assist and design the courses. Hopefully that's helpful.
And then one more question. So I understand this is for Canvas, but does it include best practices for like their slide decks that they're then including into Canvas?
Anybody want to take that instead of me?
We do talk about how to format images and how to format documents in the course. It is mostly focused on designing courses in Canvas, but that does not mean you can't not design a document appropriately. So we talk about, and also how to do captions and videos and things like that. So why these things need to happen the way they do, and how to make it easy for yourself to do it, because it allows you to practice doing it in the course. So, and then, I mean, obviously, no course can capture all things accessibility, just like we can't know all things accessibility, but it's a start. And then there's a few other resources we can also share later on with you know, and you can find a lot of those resources at accessibility.asu.edu as well, on how to build documents accessibly, how to build presentations accessibly, and so on. Does that help? You're welcome.
And there's another question in the chat. If you guys don't want to answer this, I will as a faculty member. My understanding is faculty are not remunerated or provided extra time to update a course. Perhaps instituting time as well as resources might increase uptake?
That's an interesting perspective. I think funding happens in different ways in different departments, so it's probably hard to speak exactly as how that's going to happen in each space. But I can say that if you make a course accessible up front, you won't have that issue. And if you have a course where it's not accessible, you don't have to do the whole thing. You could run Ally, and you could just take a piece. Like, maybe this semester I'm going to do all my images, or I'm going to take this one PDF and I'm going to go work with someone in the ASU library, and they're going to help you. Because we have so many partners across the university that want to help you, that are part of this community of inclusion and access. And as long as you know where to go, you'll know who to ask. And so this course helps with that as well.
Okay, first off, loved the course as an ID. Who took the course?
Thank you.
So as Dr. Ricker said, some faculty members are really resistant to making their course materials and courses accessible, even though there's a literal legal requirement to do so. How do you broach this conversation with faculty? And do you have an example of a conversation you've had with faculty who like really, really needed to do it, even if they were resistant to it?
Do either one of you have an example you want to share?
I mean, London, do you want to answer the question? It's okay. Come. You're more than this.
London is part of our course design team.
Yes.
So speaking later.
Yay, go London.
You guys are great, thanks. So I'm London Skiles. You'll hear from me later. The question was about having those difficult conversations with faculty, right? I like to engage in those conversations. And I always ask permission if faculty are resistant. And I always say, do you mind if I challenge that a little bit? Are you open to that, to having that conversation? If they say no, I'm like, okay. I mean, I'm not gonna, but a lot of times they'll be like, well, yeah, faculty, like, we want our ideas challenged, right? And so faculty, if you ask that permission, a lot of times that opens that door. And then you can ask the hard question, right? The question is not, why would I do this? The question is, why would I not? And I think any faculty member who cares about student learning, right, is going to want their students to be able to fully participate and engage and learn in their course. And so asking them that question, it flips the rhetoric a little bit, right? Like, it's no longer a mandate. It's oh, well, why wouldn't I do this if it's gonna help that student be able to succeed in the course?
I just want to add to that too. From my experience, it's not a faculty resistance necessarily. It's faculty not knowing that what they did was inaccessible. And if they know, they will take the effort to make it accessible, unless it feels overwhelming and like the whole world's coming down on them, which is the other piece of just take one piece at a time. Don't think you have to change. What can you change one time?
The other thing I do is I say, you're not alone and I will help. You're not alone and I will help. That's what I'm here for as the ID, is that I want to do this with you in partnership. So having that trust that London expressed and saying one piece at a time. Thank you, Flower Darby, for that small teaching example. Her book is phenomenal. It helps you see that you can just take one piece at a time, and then you as the ID, if you're an ID out there wondering how to do this, a little bit at a time, but you can help your faculty do it together.
Do you have what I took care of? We're good on the back row. We are at time, but I have one question about accessibility of resources for faculty to convert large batches of PDFs to make them accessible. I believe that alt format is only involved when folks have accommodations. They don't just do it to make a course accessible. So
I will say that sales is only one department that can help with that. And so in our course, we highlight our ASU library because the ASU resource organizer is intended to help with organizing, curating all of your stuff. Websites, imagery, videos, PDFs, articles, all the things. And then when it's in there, they take it upon themselves to make sure they're accessible. So if you have a large batch of PDFs that are currently living, you know, in the files of Canvas, it is worth your effort to work with the library to put it into an ASU library resource organizer, and they will work to assist in remediating or finding the more accessible version of the thing that you've loaded into that space.
That was an awesome resource. Thank you, Mary.
Okay, here you go.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mary, Alejandra, and Mackenzie. That was phenomenal. And yes, I was on the committee too. We're going to take a 30-minute break. Actually, if I talk fast, it'll be a 33-minute break. Feel free to eat in this room. It says to feel free to wander downstairs, but if you go down there, it's going to take you 30 minutes to get it, so please bring it back and eat it in this room. We'll begin the keynote address from Teach Access promptly at 12:30. Please note that recordings of the sessions will be posted within a week or so on the website at aaad.asu.edu. Please share what you've learned here today with your friends and colleagues. If you want to learn more, the ASU Digital Accessibility Liaisons meet monthly for ongoing accessibility training that is open to everyone at ASU. Get more information on the ASU Accessibility website. If you want to get involved in the movement to make ASU one of the most accessible universities in the nation, join the Universal Design and Accessible Technology Group. The schedule is also on the ASU Accessibility website. And finally, we'd like to say a sincere thank you to our volunteers and our sponsors. Without them, this conference wouldn't be possible. So thanks, everyone. Please join us back here in the Gold Room and on Zoom at 12:30. We'll see you then.